What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today I come to you with a rapid fire predictions for today's matchup for the starting event for the new Call of Duty League season for the Modern Warfare 2 season, which is taking place today, December 2nd, on a Friday. It's going to span up until Sunday, I do believe. I am going to be breaking down the matchups for today, Friday. First one is Boston Breach against Atlanta FaZe, going to be a banger, as well as Optic Texas and Minnesota Rokkr following that one. After that, we're going to have the new updated Vegas Legion squad going against the champs Los Angeles Thieves, who are going to be defending, their first game back after the champs. So that's going to be a banger. You really want to see LA win that one, but you also want to see what Vegas has to bring with their new squad. So we're going to see how that one goes. And we also have the LA Guerrillas going up against the Seattle Surge. So we have a good couple of games today. I'm looking forward to seeing them, as well as we have the lines here provided by Bovada. I'm going to be breaking down these lines to, make an accurate prediction. So some people have been asking me what I think about the matchups, and ideally, I do say that when it comes to the first game of the season, I really just throw up any bet up in the air based on last season's basically statistics. We don't have any information on these teams this year so far up until the games start. But you can make an informed decision based on how the teams that are still the same have performed before the previous season, right? Which is not many teams. Most teams have changed with the exception of a few today, which is Optic Texas and LA Thieves are pretty much the same team, as well as Seattle Surge, obviously. Those are going to be some of the favorite teams to win, obviously. But then you have teams like the LA Guerrillas, who acquired our cities from FaZe. We also have Vegas Legion, who are completely different, with the exception of Temp. It's a different team, so they're going to probably get some wins this season. Vegas Legion might not be so trash. Optic Texas, the same. Minnesota Rokkr also switched up a bit. Boston Breach switched up a bit as well. And then Atlanta FaZe, they acquired Slasher. They traded them pretty much for, or traded our cities for Slasher. We don't know how these teams are going to perform. Atlanta FaZe is a dominant team, but we really don't know how they're going to play with this extra player. Obviously, Slasher is good, but we've seen it time and time again in sports and in any other esports. Just because you have a good player come into your team doesn't mean that team is going to mesh well. You see a lot of players flop, i.e. Russell Westbrook and other, teams. Once he left Oklahoma City, it's like he just took a dive, things like that. We just have to see that first week of game. We have to see how these teams start to develop for the first couple of matches they play with their new teams, and then I'll feel comfortable making assumptions on what team I think is best. But for now, I'm just going to go over the teams that I believe are the ones who are going to win, and then you guys can make your informed decisions on maybe if you're betting on Bovada and go on that. So for the first match of the day, we're going to be having the Boston Breach against the Atlanta FaZe. This is going to be a great game, although this is going to be a different squad completely. So really the stats aren't really going to matter for this matchup at all because we have too many different players. However, I will tell you that Vivid and Awakening in this team are a really, really good addition. I know Vivid, they picked them up later last season. Vivid was a pretty good player. Awakening as well, and with Methods and Nero, I really like this team. I really like how this team looks, and they have a new substitute player named Beans, who's also supposedly really good. He's irrelevant right now as he's only the bench player. However, this team right here, Nero, Vivid, Awakening, Methods, I feel is a really strong core team. I feel this team is really, really good. I honestly wouldn't say Atlanta FaZe is just going to go in and sweep these guys. I don't think that's how it works. I do think these guys are going to be a good threat to many teams in the CDL just based on their individual skills. I know Methods and Vivid are, they're not veterans. I mean, Methods is a veteran. Vivid is, getting there. But Vivid is a good player, as well as Nero. Awakening, the newest addition here. Awakening played really well in Florida, so I do think he's going to be a good pickup for the Boston Breach. And on the other side, we have the new Atlanta FaZe roster, which encompasses obviously aBeZy, Simp, Celium, and then Slasher. Honestly, I do think that Slasher in this team, it's just going to feel the same for Atlanta FaZe. I don't think he's going to bring anything that, it's going to be overall different. I do feel like Arcitys in this team was, perfect because these guys really won a championship together. They've been dominant for a while, and then just changing it up to this AR, even though Slasher is good, I just feel might switch it up for them. It might not feel the same. Arcitys never really had to carry. He was just more of that a slow AR player who you just pick people from far away. He was that type of player, or he didn't have to move a lot because he just had these demons running around with him. Now Slasher, I think he's a little bit mobile of a AR. I do think it's going to be a little bit different for FaZe. I'm not sure if they're going to be the same dominant force. One player can really make a difference, whether it be good or bad. So you always have to take that into account. The money line on the game is a minus 275 for Atlanta FaZe over the Boston Breach, which is at a plus 195, which I believe is kind of accurate. Obviously you got to give the upper hand to FaZe. They've shown that those 3 out of 4 players have been very dominant. Boston Breach, even though they have really good players, they're still within 200 points or so of being even. I mean, obviously Atlanta FaZe is favorite. The under is at 4.5, so at minus 230. I do believe this is going to be a 3-2 matchup. I do think Atlanta FaZe is going to win. They're gonna have the upper hand here a little bit, but I do think this one could be a flip of a coin. I know that's crazy to say, but I really do think the Boston Breach is looking like a really good team on paper, right? But obviously we have to see the first game. Once we have that first game, we can start making assumptions on, how these players are going to play in the future. So with that being said, my pick for this matchup is going to be Atlanta FaZe 3-2. And with that, let's go to the next matchup, which is the Optic Texas versus Minnesota Rokkr. And with our second matchup of the day, we have the Minnesota Rokkr facing the Optic Texas. And as you can see here, the only player that remained in the Minnesota Rokkr from last year was Attach. Although I do feel like they shouldn't have let Standy go. I do feel like he was going to leave eventually. And I guess him going to Florida makes Florida a better team. That's good to see for the competitiveness of all teams overall. But I do feel like this team is going to be a little bit better than it was last year just because of the beasts that now play in this team. Cammy was a beast in Modern Warfare, the first one. So kind of have a little bit bias towards him. I think he's going to feel a little bit better in this game. Since it's Modern Warfare 2, he's going to feel a lot similar. So we're going to see how that goes. And he brought himself Bant from Ultra as well. They split that team up. So now it's Bant's Cammy here as well as Attach and Afro from the London Royal Ravens, which I'm surprised London let him go because this guy's an absolute beast. This guy has made me personally a lot of money when I've rostered him, specifically because I don't know why the people at DraftKings never know how to price him accurately. They always price him too cheap, and he's made me money many times. So I like Afro. I don't want to say I have bias towards him, but in some situations where he is too cheap, he's an absolute must lock most of the time. So this team is really good. Obviously, they're going up against my favorite team, Optic Texas, and I feel like Optic Texas being the same team that they were last year, they had a little bit of issues in the offseason when we thought they were going to break apart. I don't know how that affected Illy or any of the other players on their mental. I don't know how their dynamic is going to be now. I can't be for certain. Obviously, we don't know how these teams work, in the inner dynamics of this team. We don't know how Illy might have taken it. I know he might have been a little bit mad. I don't know how it's going to play out for these teams. I don't know if they're as confident in each other as they were in last season. We have to see what they're going to bring to the table this season. Scump going to be on his last season as well. He obviously announced that earlier this year that he was going to be only playing for this tournament or this Modern Warfare 2 tournament, and then he was going to call it a career. Hopefully he stays with us another year, but Scump, a beast. I know he's going to make his last season a banger. So whenever you see Scump at low prices on DraftKings, pick him up. As far as the outcome of this game, man, it's gonna be really tight for me. Minnesota Rocker, even with the previous roster that they had last season, always gave Optic trouble. I do believe, however, this is going to be a close game, 3-2, just like the last matchup. I do think Optic is going to win. It can be a coin flip. Honestly, this is a really close matchup. I don't think it's going to be like a 3-0 or anything like that. But 3-2 is most likely in this scenario, given how good both of these teams are. And then, some little factors on how this dynamic is going to work for Optic Texas going forward. The line is a little bit close. Optic Texas minus 65, Minnesota Rocker plus 125. Could go either way to minus 200 to stay under 4.5 games. And yes, I do think it's going to be Optic Texas. I do think it's going to go game 5, 3-2. I'm really looking forward to seeing this matchup. It's going to be a good one. I can't wait to see how my team's going to perform, as well as Minnesota Rocker. And yeah, with that being said, let's move on to the next one, to the new updated Las Vegas Legion team versus the defending champs, the LA Thieves. So as we can see on the Call of Duty League website, they still have not updated this roster, but the Vegas Legion now consists of Temp, who was in the team last season already. It consists of Clayster, who you all guys know to be a veteran of the game, a legend, absolute beast, was in the Dallas Empire for the inaugural season of Call of Duty League, where he won the world championship. So he's a world champ, multiple time champ, I believe. Yes. And Proloot, which was a substitute who played for Optic last season for a little while Illy was out. He's also in this team. Pretty good player, in my opinion, as well as TJ Halley is also in this team. I do feel like he's a veteran as well. He was playing in Boston last season, and we saw him shine a couple of different times. So TJ Halley is going to be in this team. I really do like how Vegas Legion is, structuring this team. I really feel like they have a couple veterans in here, and I do think they're going to get some wins. They're not going to be as horrible as they've been each and every other season so far. So I'm looking forward to this. And I do feel like this is going to be a maybe like a 3-1 victory against the LA, not against the LA Thieves, but from the LA Thieves, just because they're the defending champs. You can't really go up against the defending champs. As you can see here, the same team, Draza, Kenny, Envoy, Octane, absolute beasts. At the beginning of the season, which was amazing me, people were talking about blowing up this team. You saw it all over Twitter. People just saying, blow up the team, this, that, and the other. They did switch up a couple of players over time, but I feel like this team, as soon as they got together, I knew this team was going to do something special. I knew they had what it take to be champions. I knew it from the beginning. So people were saying, blow the team up. It was amazing, man. Call of Duty community sometimes can be bandwagons, because by the end of the year you could see this little stint they had where they just destroyed everybody in their path, and it took them to the grand final, and it took them to their first championship as a team. So this team going forward, I've always believed in them. I feel like Draza is always like the cheapest player on DraftKings. I feel like he has a lot of value, but this team overall is really, really strong, and as of today they are the best team in the world, and you can't go up against them. Or you can't bet against them, at least, if you're smart with your money. So I would say LA Thieves is a lock against the Las Vegas Legion. I've heard the Las Vegas Legion have been having good scrims. I've been hearing mixed things, but overall the sentiment is that they're going to be better than they were last year. But on paper, this is the worst team against the best team, right? Obviously, it's not the same team as last year, but paper, they're the last standing team against the defending champs. So I would say, just if you're going to bet on this game, obviously lock in Los Angeles Thieves, and you can make some money. So with that being said, Let's move on to the last match, which is the LA Guerrillas against the Seattle Surge, which I believe is going to be a banger. And so for the last matchup of the day, we have the newly updated Los Angeles Guerrillas, new logo and everything. R-Cities is the new acquisition here. Obviously, Hugh Neptune, Spart have been in the team since last year. A lot of people dog this team, but let me tell you here, let me call it right here from now, so you guys can come back to this video and, I can tell you I told you so. I don't know if this team is going to be champs. I don't think they're going to be champs, but this team is going to stun a lot of the other teams people keep saying they're worse than. This team is really good, really good. I know they are freaking good. They have R-Cities a world champ, Hugh a world champ. Spart showed us what he could do in that one Majors 2 that they won with LAG. And Neptune's also a really good player who hasn't had the best of a season last season. But, one season isn't a whole career. This guy can make a bounce back, this season if he really wanted to, if he really put his mind to it. So I feel like this team right here is really, really good. These three guys got that gunny. And then R-Cities being the guy with the leadership mentality in the team. Is definitely this team's definitely gonna be the dark horse and is definitely gonna upset a lot of teams. Definitely gonna start ranking higher in those power ranking leaderboards, in my opinion. Don't sleep on this team. These players usually get priced out cheap, and I would say whenever you can, grab these players because they are bound to have a high upside. All of these players have high upside. Hugh, R-Cities, Neptune, Spart, they have high upside, so don't sleep on them. However, for this specific matchup, since we have not seen them play yet, I can't say for sure 100% how they're going to do against Seattle Surge, who already have played together, already have a system together. Accuracy, Pred, Mac, Sib. Obviously, we know this team has been a dominant force last season. They've been really good, really, really good. Obviously, they've been way, way better than the Surge from old. This team is, I would say, top 4. But with that being said, I do feel like they might win. Might be a 3-1. I feel like LAG roster is a good team, but I feel like this might be one of the teams that takes a little bit of time to pick up just because they're going to need to learn how to play with each other. On the other hand, Seattle already knows how to play with each other. They already know their strats. They already know pretty much, they already have chemistry together. They have a season of chemistry together. So I do feel like this is going to be a 3-1 victory from the side of Surge. I do think that LAG is going to give them, a hard time, though. I think they're going to, show up in these games. And I do look forward to seeing all of these matches. I'm so happy that the Call of Duty League is back. I'm going to be obviously updating every single week, the channel, uploading every single week, multiple times, covering all the matches, my thoughts, and I'm going to try to push out more content than I have in the past for Call of Duty. So definitely stay tuned if you are looking forward to this channel and looking forward to betting on Bovada, DraftKings, Prize Picks. I'm going to be making videos on that. Feel free to tune in, and I'd be glad to provide content for you guys to hear the Call of Duty community in the future. So leave a like, comment if you like the content, you have anything to say, definitely bounce ideas off of me, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you.